Wall Street veteran Bernard Madoff has been arrested and charged with running a $50 billion Ponzi scheme.
Congress wants to know what caused the Enron meltdown.
Now, while the collective rage currently is focused on WorldCom,
Tyco CEO Dennis Kozlowski was convicted of looting hundreds of millions of dollars.
This is one of the biggest fraud cases ever.
Their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
Find out more on this week's episode of White Collars, Red Hands.
When your alarm goes off in the morning, you stretch, curse the day, and then begin getting ready. Most people are headed off to work. You get to work, do your job, and it becomes lunchtime. However, you're swamped with work. Your employer urges you to work through your lunch break and promises you compensation for doing so. This isn't the first time you've worked through your lunch break. However, your paycheck comes and you realize that you have not been compensated. Actually, you've never been compensated for a missed lunch. This is an example of wage theft, an issue that sweeps our nation and robs citizens of $50 billion annually. So what is wage theft? And why is it so widespread? Find out on today's episode of White Collars, Red Hands.
Oh, man. I saw a documentary about wage theft.
Really?
Yeah. Some guy worked at like this office for a long time, and it like 20 years. Turns out they never paid him. And all he wanted the whole time was a red stapler. Oh, that was Office Space.
I never watched that.
Yeah, I can tell.
I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
This is landing so flat. I was like, damn, I guess it's a really terrible joke.
Yeah,
and there's a part in Office Space. There's a guy, he likes a red stapler. You know what? I'm not going to explain it for everybody.
Isn't Jennifer Aniston in that?
Sure.
I watched a scene.
I honestly don't remember much.
Isn't that the movie where he's like, that'd be great? If you could do that'd be great.
Because he says something that's like, if you could stay extra tonight, that'd be great.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Yeah.
I've watched a couple episodes. I mean, I've watched a couple scenes from it. I've never watched the whole thing.
They beat up a printer at the end altogether.
Didn't see that part.
To like rap music.
Honestly,
it's the best scene in the movie is the last scene. That's all I know about office work, though, because I haven't worked a big boy job yet. So.
Yep, because you're a little bitch. All right.
I got a big boy job coming up. Shut up.
Yeah, he does. He does. But now,
adult, Mom,
we're going to do his not big boy job and welcome you back to White Collars, Red Hands. This is...
I'm Kashan. I'm big boy Kashan.
And I'm Nina. And today, we're talking about wage theft. So this episode, we are going to be covering 3 different stories about wage theft. We've never really done an episode about wage theft before.
No,
we've never done one. So that's going to be exciting. But let's kind of like go over what exactly wage theft is and stuff like that. So wage theft is when your employer pays you less than what you are owed, which kind of self-explanatory, but here are some of the most common forms of wage theft. Not paying minimum wage, not paying overtime, automatically deducting time for meal breaks, which like when I gave that example before, if you don't take a meal break and then they like clock you out when you weren't clocked out, that's an example. Taking illegal deductions, not paying for all hours worked, misclassifying employees as overtime exempt, not paying interns, not paying for remote work, and misclassifying employees as independent contractors.
Ooh, I know that one happens
a lot. Yeah. It definitely does. It said that wage theft is the biggest form of theft in the United States. So you would think that like, oh, people getting robbed or like...
Yeah, I was thinking that it would definitely be by like people in white and black striped shirts. Mm-hmm. That they carry around those big bags with them with the dollar sign on the side.
Yeah, I mean, that's
those guys are a menace to society. They're like everywhere.
The Hamburglar. But the money burglar.
That's a question I want to know. Why is the Hamburglar not on the FBI top 10 most wanted? This has to change, people. Wake up.
All right. Some estimate, like I said earlier, that $50 billion a year are stolen from employees by employers. Most employees do not file complaints against their employers. And then young workers, women, people of color, and immigrants are most likely to be affected by wage theft. And they're more likely to be affected by wage theft than, let's be honest, white men.
I don't appreciate you gesturing towards me.
You are one.
Well, I won't argue with you because it's true.
Yeah. I'm actually part of a Facebook group where women in Chicago ask each other questions. And there was a girl who posted last week about a job that she had gotten. And originally when she spoke to someone, they offered her $15,000 more than what was reflected in her offer letter. And like, she was asking if she should still take the job since it was her dream job. And although this isn't technically wage theft because no money was taken from her, it's shady because they know that they can lowball her because she's young and she's a woman. And I think that's why also, this kind of stuff.
Just like, what a mistake. Because the thing is if you want a lowballer, at least do it in the interview. Don't offer her more and then do it later. Because at that point, you should at least be like, we discussed this in here, so I want to know why it was reduced. It's like a great way to respond. It's like, so why the reduction after you had verbally agreed with me on this? And then you have it in writing, so if they say I never did that, you'd be like, yes, you did.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just interesting. But the states and like blah, blah, blah. And as I mentioned before, minimum wage, not paying minimum wage is one other form of wage theft. And
how do you do that? How does no one catch on to that? Like you get caught pretty fast, right? No?
I don't know. I guess not. I guess not. I'll talk about this in just a second. So the states in which employees are paid less than minimum wage, the states where it is more frequent to be paid less than minimum wage are Florida, Ohio, and New York.
Oh, 2 out of the 3 makes sense.
Yeah. And as a former resident of Ohio, I can confirm this because when I was in high school, I worked for a Smoothie King franchise where they actually did not pay me minimum wage. My boss was my brother's friend's family. And they like gave me this song and a dance on how they didn't have to pay me minimum wage. And I really don't remember what the actual reasoning was because I was 17. So that was 13 years ago. But I believed them that they didn't have to pay me minimum wage because I was a teenager and stupid.
Yeah, they had to pay you minimum wage.
Yeah, I think she told me, like the reasoning was, she told me because their business didn't generate a certain amount of income that like she didn't have to pay me. And then she also said that we had the ability to make tips, which like people could tip us if they wanted to, but it's not like we were servers.
Not fam. Minimum wage, but minimum wage in Ohio is like 2 nickels or something too. So it's
basically
it's like just pay it. I had something similar happen actually. In college, I went back home and I worked. My mom had worked at a property management company, and I did like the inspections for them, but they 1099 me as an independent contractor, and because they called me an independent contractor, they can pay you under minimum wage. He paid me like, I think minimum wage in Arizona at the time was like $12 an hour, and he paid me like $8 an hour.
What the fuck?
Like straight up. And that's what I did for a whole summer. But I didn't care because I was living at home, and so I didn't even need a job to begin with. And all I did was smoke weed the whole summer. So
oh well, I guess that's all right. I mean, I think that if I had told my parents I wasn't making minimum wage, that they wouldn't have let me take the job.
Yeah, no, that's bullshit.
No, it was some BS. It was some BS. It's also noted that in cases where underpaid employees are paid less than minimum wage, that the poverty amongst these employees is about 21%, which is 3 times the poverty rate of minimum wage workers.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
The less you get paid, the more in poverty you are. It's by definition, right?
And if these employees were paid their full wages, less than 15% would be in poverty.
Still quite a bit.
Yeah, it is still quite a bit, but it's a 6% difference.
If you have a job in the richest country in the world, probably shouldn't be in poverty.
Well, true. There was one study done where employees were interviewed in the 3 largest cities in our country, Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles. In this study, it was found that at least 68% had at least one wage violation. 76% weren't paid for overtime. 30% of tipped workers weren't paid the correct wage. 60% were underpaid over $1 an hour. 69% of workers who earned a meal break had their rights violated. As Kashan and I know, this happens every single day in the restaurant industry.
Yeah, you don't get meal breaks. Luckily, now we have started to get them.
I do not.
At the place where I still work, because I was like, I'm going to go sit down and you're going to cover me. Bring it up with me. Unfortunately, you got to be assertive because businesses are just always going to try and fuck you.
Well, and also, it's pretty standard in the restaurant industry to not get a break.
Because it's hard to do, because you have,
Yeah.
and I get that it's logistically hard to do, but it's not impossible. So they need
It's not impossible, but it's also not legal.
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
It's not legal. And where it was saying that 60% were underpaid for over $1 an hour, like I've had this happen at multiple restaurants where they wouldn't pay. So like if I was training, I was supposed to get an extra incentive.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't pay me the incentive. They'd be like, well, you get free food. And then, or like, they'd be like, well, if you...
Did you have a contract that said that though? Because that's what's hard. It's hard to nail down. Like if you have changes to your pay based on what you're doing, if you don't have a contract,
I
that
feel
says
like
it,
there was
hard.
something somewhere that said that, but I don't know. Or like the one restaurant I worked at, they were like, well, we'll just give you cash to train.
That's shady.
Oh yeah.
So what these percentages are really telling us, right, is that this is endemic. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
And it's thick.
And the problem is people don't have power in the workplace, and they're afraid that they will get fired if they take their employer to court over wage theft,
Yeah, so they
which
take
is
it.
why it just continues to happen. And even when people do take their employers to court, it doesn't always pay off. A third of successful cases showed that no money was ever recovered by the employee.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And that's a third of successful cases, so that doesn't even include the ones that are unsuccessful
Right.
from the get-go.
Right. So let's get into our first story. Now, they have a menu with 250 dishes. The bread, immaculate. The pasta, tender. The drinks, sweeter than they should be. It may sound cheesy, but they've got the cake. Who am I talking about? The Cheesecake Factory.
I've never been.
You've never been?
Well, no.
What?
I have never been to a Cheesecake Factory.
The Cheesecake
Not once.
Factory slaps so hard. The jambalaya pasta. Oh my god. The key lime cheesecake.
Are you going to name all 248 other things on the menu right now?
No. But they do have an angel hair pasta. I had some sort of lemonade the last time I went there. My mom threw up from the salmon one time.
None of this is making me want to go to the
Oh my
Cheesecake
god, the
Factory.
Cheesecake Factory is so good.
It's like a knockoff Cracker Barrel or something.
No.
No,
And
this
it's
is
so much better than Cracker
The Cheesecake
Barrel.
Factory is a trash restaurant. I'm not like that it serves trash, but it's for trash, which is why you like it.
Oh my god! You have never had the goodness
No.
of one of those 1,000 calorie slices of cheesecake.
You seriously?
Yeah, they're like 1,000 calories each.
Woof.
Our first story that we're covering today is the Cheesecake Factory, who screwed janitorial workers out of over $4 million. Now, back in 2018, Cheesecake Factory and a janitorial contractor were found liable for $4.5 million in the wage theft case. So if you don't work in the restaurant industry, I do want to note that most restaurants, and especially chain restaurants, hire a night cleaning crew that is hired outside of the company. The restaurant itself typically doesn't hire the individuals who clean the restaurant at night. Now, the case included 8 California locations. The janitors worked in Orange and San Diego counties. Cheesecake Factory was using the contractor AmeriClean Janitorial Services Corporations, which subcontracted Magic Touch commercial cleaning. Sorry, a lot of different hands are being taught.
Greased?
Yes.
Tom's being greased? It's just wild to me that it's like, so does that mean that AmeriClean Janitorial Services Corporations also don't put services and corporations in your name?
I think that maybe I fucked that up.
You know what? I'm going to hope it's not, because that's stupid and it's probably real. So they'd get another janitorial company to do it?
So it's basically like Cheesecake Factory hired them. They have a bunch of people who work under them.
So they outsource the already outsourced job.
Mm-hmm.
Wild.
If
we clean this up, cut out all the middle management, maybe they wouldn't steal $4.5 million.
Maybe they wouldn't. So they subcontracted Magic Touch Commercial Cleaning, which was the company that managed the 559 underpaid employees. Now, the employees would normally start their shifts around midnight and would work until the morning. This is very normal. When I worked at Cracker Barrel, our night cleaning crew would also do this. They might have got in before midnight because we would open at 6, I think. But they would come around like 11 and then they would be out by like 4 or 5.
6 a.m.?
Yeah.
The Cracker Barrel opens at 6 a.m.?
On weekends for sure. Maybe during the week too.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because there was a couple times I would have to open. I usually got there at 7.
People were there.
Oh, yeah.
That's disgusting.
There were times when I had to open at 6. Well, so we opened at 6. I would have to get there by 5:30. And then we would have people who would get mad because someone would let me into the building and they couldn't come into the building too.
Could you imagine waking up at 5 and being like, fuck, I need biscuits and gravy and to play a stupid peg game in like 1 hour, else I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah. There were a lot of crazy things that happened when I worked at Cracker Barrel. This guy almost shot me one time. It was great.
Fun.
Yeah.
Oh, me too, but I'm a late night bartender in Chicago, so that happens.
Who almost shot you?
A couple of people. It's fine.
That's because
they threatened, but no one ever like pulled the gun out.
I have opinions on that.
What?
The bouncers let people in that they shouldn't let in.
Oh, I mean, maybe.
Anyways, now the issue was that these workers were not given adequate breaks and were not allowed to leave until a Cheesecake Factory kitchen manager did a walkthrough. Now, this resulted in the workers having to do extra tasks, and each worker ended up logging an extra 10 hours per week in unpaid overtime.
Oh, shit.
Workers in the janitorial industry are more vulnerable to wage theft because they usually work at nights in isolated incidents. Now, what's even sketchier is that so when all this was going down, when all this was brought up, Magic Touch renamed their company as Z's Commercial Quality Cleaning. Now, this was done in order to avoid investigation. According to Erica Monterosa, who is a spokeswoman for the Department of Industrial Relations, when companies use wage theft as a business practice, the company will, quote, try to get rid of the business that is under investigation and open a new business. Perhaps they will use a colleague or a relative, unquote. So, why is the Cheesecake Factory liable even though it was a subcontractor who failed to pay their employees? Well, the Fair Labor Standards Act, or the FLSA, is an act. FLSA, Prison Blues. This is an act that has basic wage and hour protections. The act was put into place in 1938 to, quote, provide for the establishment of fair labor standard in employment and in affecting interstate commerce and for other purposes. Yeah.
Sounds like just as much bullshit that usually goes into starting anything.
Absolutely. So this requires employers to pay covered non-exempt employees at least minimum wage and for overtime. If the employees were not direct employees of the company, like these employees were not direct employees of the Cheesecake Factory, it must be determined if the company and the contractor are joint employers, which would make both potentially have to do paybacks and fines. So, yeah. In the trial, it was determined that Cheesecake Factory was actually not a joint employer, but they were held jointly liable because of two different California laws. The laws said that companies are liable if they entertain workers through contractors and that they also share liability for any wage and workers' compensation.
Makes sense.
So it was found that all three parties, Cheesecake Factory, AmeriClean, and Magic Touch, were responsible for the poor $4.5 million payout.
It just sucks too, because these like janitors and custodial staff are like the kind of people that get preyed on most by wage theft too, not just because they work at night, not just because they're in isolated environments and it's hard to voice their concerns to people, but also because I feel like largely the people that are in custodial staff are, at least in personal experience, are immigrants, are people that it's harder for them to fight because there might be other barriers in their way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and also the fact that those people are also the closest to poverty a lot of the time. You know, we don't pay them maybe necessarily what they're worth to begin with.
Yeah.
So they're even more afraid. It's like this cycle. It's awful.
Yeah. And also, I didn't include this, but a lot of times these kind of janitorial services are also paid under the table. So then those people are really getting screwed because there's absolutely no paper trail. They're getting paid in cash.
They have no rights because they can't prove that they're even an employee.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So our next story. Now, while you were having it your way, a lot of employees were doing it without pay.
Man, I'm going to flame broil you for that joke. That was awful.
I thought it was kind of clever.
That was a whopper of a stinker, man.
Burger King is also guilty of wage theft, which honestly isn't super surprising since you can get 10 chicken nuggets for $1.
Whopper, 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 double, triple bacon whopper.
Is that a real thing?
Toppers. I want it my way at BK. You haven't heard that?
Never.
Oh, man, that's popping off everywhere, and there's a pretty dope trap remix on TikTok. How old am I? What am I saying? Anyway, it's pretty good. I'll send it to you.
Whoa, that was sus.
We can't do this. We're too old to do this.
I know. I was trying to think of another Gen Z saying, and I couldn't.
Man. Yeah. If we talk like this, we're going to have El Riz, bro.
I don't even know what that means.
Riz is like game. Like he's got mad Riz. Like it means he can like spit game.
I did tell a kid at my substitute teaching job, it was like 28 degrees and they were going outside for a recess. And I was like, you need a coat. And he's like, I don't have a coat with me. I don't have a coat. And I was like, that's cap. And then they freaked out.
Nice. The next time someone's acting up in class, just say you have El Riz, bro.
El Riz? What does it mean again?
Don't actually say it. It means that because El means like loss, and Riz is like the ability to spit game. So it means like you're bad at spitting game. Like you're
So if I hear them flirting with somebody, I say you've got El Riz, bro.
That's El Riz. But if someone's doing well, then you say, man, you got W Riz, bro.
Winning Riz?
Hella Riz, the Rizzler.
No, this sounds too much like
Riz-tastic.
This sounds too much like jizz.
Yeah, give it the Riz.
Stop. I don't like that.
Yeah, put your Riz all over.
This is inappropriate. I just want to talk about Burger King. So 2 Burger King franchise owners in San Francisco were really whoppered when they owed 230 employees from 6 different Burger King restaurants $2.2 million for not paying them for overtime work. So this was the breakdown. $724,000 in unpaid wages, plus $371,000 in unpaid interest, and then the $1.2 million in penalties. Now, employees of these franchises were denied breaks, worked overtime hours, but were not given overtime pay, and took on responsibilities which were not part of their job description.
Like sucking the manager's dick. It wasn't in the contract. They didn't have to do that.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to do jobs that I wasn't supposed to do at a restaurant. Giving them that cluck 3,000.
Oh my god! I'm about to say, I was like, does the job start with blow? Is that where we're going here?
I have never had oral sex with anyone at a restaurant.
Okay, there was a lot of modifiers in there that leave it open for other things, but we're not going to go.
I've never had a manager ask me for sex. I want that on the table.
But that doesn't mean you haven't done it. It just means that no one asked
No, I
you.
have never slept with anyone I've worked with.
Ever.
One.
Yeah, that sounds more
But
like
it was a contract job. It didn't count.
Okay. You tired
Of what?
from all those mental gymnastics you're doing? Jesus.
I cute backhand spring my way out of that one. All right. So it was also said that the owners kept branches understaffed so that they could save on labor costs while simultaneously pressuring managers to meet sales goals. It was also found that time cards had been tampered with and that forms were falsified in order to make it look like employees took meal breaks when they actually didn't. It was also found that there wasn't a way for compensating workers when they didn't take their breaks. So, how exactly does one work off the clock in situations like this? It's a little understandable with mom and pop restaurant, but when it's chains, it seems as though it would be hard to conceal. Well, one employee noted that when she was asked to come in at 5:30, One employee noted that she was asked to come in at 5:30 to warm up equipment before her shift actually started at 6. Although 30 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, if you're doing that every single shift, it adds up. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm just going to list a bunch of things that these employees had to go through. One employee stated that she was originally hired to work in the kitchen, but then was expected to work multiple roles within the restaurant, including cleaning, taking orders, and as well as preparing the food. And as I previously said, the employers were not paying the employees for overtime that they worked. This employee stated that they were promised their overtime compensation on their next checks, but then the checks would come and they would not reflect the money that they were owed. This employee also stated that if she were to use her sick days, her employer would punish her and withhold payment, which you cannot do. It was also noted that the only time the restaurants were properly staffed was when corporate was coming in for investigations. So if you don't work at a restaurant, you don't know, you get inspections and investigations. Most of the time they're planned, sometimes they're not planned, but if they knew that people from corporate were coming in, they made sure that they were properly staffed so that it looked like the restaurant was running better than it was. Burger King's spokesperson said the practices described in this case are inconsistent with Burger King values. Burger King expects franchises to uphold a strong commitment to providing their team members with a safe, welcoming, and fair place to earn a living. But these people, they really are such idiots, the people that got in trouble for screwing over their employees, because they were going to owe $1.9 million, but they appealed it, and then they ended up owing 2.2.
I don't think that figure's right. And they're like, you know what? We double checked it. You're right.
You're right.
It's
you owe more. Idiots. So during the 13-day trial, 8 former employees testified. This ruling actually happened recently, and it had to be paid out within the next 45 days. And it was said that on February 2nd, so literally a week ago, either the employers needed to pay up or appeal. I could not find exactly what happened, but either they paid up or had to appeal. The owners no longer operate any Burger King franchises in San Francisco.
Man, it sounds like Burger King fucked these people over royally.
I hate Burger King.
It's all right.
No.
It's okay.
Why would you eat Burger King when you can eat McDonald's? And why would you eat McDonald's when you could eat Wendy's?
Wendy's is the best.
Then why would you eat Wendy's when you could have Culver's?
I haven't had Culver's.
The butter burger? The custard?
Wait, did I have it once?
The cheese curds?
They have cheese curds?
They've got cheese curds.
All right, I mean,
and coleslaw.
That's pretty good.
I like their coleslaw.
I'm not eating any fast food coleslaw.
Why not?
Because it's probably gross.
You're gross.
Okay, fuck you. It's got to get personal? You got to come at me like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I love coleslaw. I love coleslaw in a lot of different forms.
What other forms of coleslaw are there besides coleslaw forms?
Okay, you've got the creamy coleslaw. You've got the vinegar-based coleslaw. You've got dressing-based coleslaw.
They're all the same.
No, they are not.
They're all the same.
No, they're not.
They're cabbage and some sort of like mayonnaise thing and vinegar
not
and spices.
Not the vinegar one.
That's cabbage.
And then sometimes
that's a salad.
No, sometimes the cabbage is long and stringy, and then other times it's like diced up.
It's the same. It's cabbage. Cabbage, but a different shape. Like, all pasta's pasta, man.
No, it's not. That's not true.
Yes, it is. Pasta's pasta.
No.
Cabbage is cabbage, no matter how you slice it.
You're just wrong. So, our last story today. If you do grocery shopping in any state in the U.S., you will likely run into Kroger or one of their sister stores.
Couldn't think of a pun for that one, huh?
No, I don't know. Sorry. Sorry.
Neither can I.
I was going to say Private Selection, but I don't remember if that is their name brand or not.
I think it's just Kroger.
Well, but then they have a fancy one. I think that's called Private Selection.
Oh, wait. That is what's in Jewel, and I think Kroger does own them, actually. So
No,
you're right.
Kroger owns Mariano's. Kroger operates 2,700 stores across 35 states. Not only does the company have a good deal on products, but it also has a good deal of wage fraud. In 2022, this is all literally happening right now.
Is now just the season of wage theft? What's going on?
'Tis the season for wage theft. Thank you. So in 2022, Kroger introduced a payroll system called My Time, which was supposed to simplify stores' operations and the day-to-day work. However, since the launch of My Time, there has been repeated and ongoing problems with payroll. Thousands of employees have had issues. One woman didn't receive pay for 5 weeks and had to resign because she couldn't pay her bills. Spousal insurance was deducted twice for 7 weeks straight for someone. And I will say, if Kroger pays the way Mariano's does, because I worked at Mariano's for a bit, you get paid weekly. One employee was evicted because of lost paychecks. Senior employees were loaning new employees money so that they could get to work. Other employees have been forced to take out payday loans in order to meet their basic needs.
Those things are predatory. I know in a lot of states they've actually made payday loans illegal because they're super predatory.
Yeah, no, they're not helpful for anyone. They're really bad. A bakery employee filed a class action lawsuit over late/missed checks, canceled direct deposits, and incorrect hours recorded. A group of employees in Virginia and West Virginia filed a lawsuit against Kroger claiming that they have been victims of wage fraud on January 19th, 2023. So this literally not even a month ago.
Yeah, that's
they filed this.
2 weeks ago.
They just filed this. Yep. Now let's imagine that all of these scenarios that we have been talking about today with these corporations were overpaying instead of underpaying. If they were overpaying, this would be fixed immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This would literally be fixed within a week.
If they overpay $1, they're probably banging down your door.
Oh, they are.
Give us that $1 back.
So I actually had a job do this. They overpaid us. They double paid us. And that's exactly what happened. They actually went about it super illegally. First of all, we heard it through the grapevine that they overpaid us. They didn't even tell us that they overpaid us. And there was a lot of rumors of how it was going to be paid back, but no one actually told us how it was going to be paid back.
They should have just deducted it from your next paycheck.
Well, that is what they did. Except for it was not communicated to us. And then a bunch of people received no paycheck at all because they were paying it back, but there was no email, no communication. People just didn't get paid. And you can't do that. You can't just not give employees a paycheck. There's a law. I don't exactly know what it's called, but if this sort of situation happens, you have to make a payback agreement. You don't just take whatever you want. So thank you, 4-Star Restaurant Group and James Miller. I'm calling you out personally, and I don't care.
It's just wild how we both have had so many topical things among this already. It really just goes to show you that this is, like I already said it, it's everywhere. It's happening all the time to everyone. Especially the quote unquote lower levels of employment.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's awful.
Oh, yeah.
It's awful. These corporations, big or even small, really do thrive off of nickel and diming their employees at every turn. A company is never, I want you guys to know, a company is almost never acting in your best interest.
No,
ever.
never.
Don't trust who you work for.
No.
Ever.
No, and that's really hard to think about because when you are, even when you are in these jobs, you like to think that your employer cares about you. You like to think that your managers care about you, and they actually simply do not give a shit about you.
The managers might, but they're not the ones who actually pay you.
Right.
Anyone who's actually giving you the money,
they don't fucking care.
They don't fucking care. And they're instructing the managers to treat you in a manner that aligns with them not caring about you. So, like, by proxy, they're going to have to make decisions that are like, this has to benefit the business, not individual people.
Right. Kroger is facing 4 class action lawsuits. In December, the union filed an unfair labor practice charge with the National Labor Relations Board. One union rep said that they were getting 40 complaints a week since at the end of last year in Cincinnati, which is where Kroger headquarters is. Kroger in Cincinnati says that they were unaware of the issues, which I just don't believe. Kroger spokesperson said that they have apologized for what has happened and have fixed most of the issues, but people are still not getting paid.
Oh, we said sorry. Is that okay if we said sorry to them? No, it's not. You have to pay them the money.
Right. And let's look at Kroger's, let's just look at Kroger as a whole for a second. So Kroger made $113 billion in sales for the first 3 quarters of 2022, which was an 8% increase of the year before. In 2021, CEO Rodney McMullen received an $18.2 million in compensation, which is 679 times more than what the average Kroger employee makes. Kroger is rumored to be merging with Albertsons, which will give them 1/5 of the country's grocery market. This could cause price hikes, food deserts, and layoffs. That's what they're predicting. We'll see what happens.
The fallout of a monopoly, basically.
Yeah. It is also noted that most Kroger employees are stricken with poverty. In 2022, a study found that 75% of Kroger employees across 3 regions said that they were food insecure. That is a lot of employees.
Yeah, that's like Walmart level.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
They're making record profits and their employees literally can't buy. And they work at a grocery store.
Yes.
That's what's worse. You show up and there's you work where the food is.
And you can't buy the food.
They're not paying enough to buy the food.
Right. And 14% were homeless or had been homeless the previous year. And when we're talking about being able to buy the food, when I worked for Mariano's, which is under the Kroger umbrella, the only discount that we received as employees were 10% off Kroger brand items. So to put this into perspective, a box of the cheapest pasta was a little bit over $1 at the time that I was working there. So you'd only be saving about 10 cents off that box, which is a bullshit discount. You should be able to get 10% off anything in the store.
Yeah.
When you are an employee.
10% off anything or 25% off Kroger products and I'd be happy.
Yeah.
That's my deal. That's
Right.
my deal, Kroger. Counteroffer me, please.
No, and as of right now, nothing has been resolved, so it'll be interesting what happens in the next upcoming months. But it's just crazy because they are a grocery store giant. This is affecting thousands and thousands and thousands of employees.
Oh, yeah. So many people work at grocery stores because there's one in every town because there has to be because people need to eat.
Yeah, and I know that the Mariano's that I worked at had over 100 employees. Easy.
It's a big
endeavor,
store, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Because there's always 1 million people running around a grocery store that work there. I'm like, oh my God, so many people work at a grocery store.
And there's people that you don't see working in that grocery store.
Yeah, all the night stalkers and not like the murderer, the people who stock different stock, STOCK.
Yeah, but you have people stalking at night, but you also have people working in the back during the day that you never see. You have people working in offices that you never see. It's crazy. Fuck Kroger. I kind of don't want to go to Mariano's now.
Yeah. They used to be family owned. That was the thing. So they were chill or whatever, but they're not chill.
Unchill.
But they do let you drink a glass of wine as you walk around. It's like peak gentrification.
Yeah. It is fun to walk around the store with wine.
It is, but you are like, I'm like, it's probably one of the whitest things you can do. It's like walking around with a glass of red wine and looking at look at all the cheeses in the cheese section, you know?
Listen, I'm white, so I will do white shit. Apple picking, drinking wine in the grocery store. Let me thrive.
Oppressing half the country.
Hey,
Yeah.
I
Classic
personally don't do that.
Classic white people stuff.
So, wage theft. The biggest form of theft in the United States is happening by those we trust the most, our employers. For far too long, businesses have gotten away with screwing over their employees. From not paying for lost breaks to bounced checks, wage theft costs employees $50 billion a year. So next time you get paid, check your pay stub a little more thoroughly. Your employer might be trying to skim a few dollars from you.
I have kept every single pay stub I've gotten for the last 5 years. I have them filed.
Okay, noob.
She's so mean today.
Today?
He's trying to have fun, man. Calling me a noob. Telling me I'm dumb. Stupid for not going to the Cheesecake Factory.
Why are you keeping pay stubs from 5 years ago?
Just in case.
Of what?
I get audited.
They're not going to audit your pay stubs.
But what if
They're going to audit your W-2.
What if I need to prove my income?
You have a W-2.
Yeah, but there could be mistakes.
Well, after 7 years, you can get rid of it.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. You keep for 7 years, and then you rotate out the oldest year. That's how it goes. Record keeping. Come on. I'm being adult, and I'm being responsible.
Sorry that I'm making fun of you for being responsible.
All right.
I shouldn't be doing that.
All right.
That's
Which one of us had a real adult meal today? Which one of us?
All right.
At this table
All right.
had a real adult meal today?
That.
It was me. Thank you, Nina.
I had a quesadilla.
It doesn't count. That's an appetizer. An appetizer does not count as a real adult meal.
It had meat in it.
No, you have to have a balanced meal with like some fruit and some carb and some protein and some vegetable.
All right, I have not had a vegetable today.
I know.
Sorry.
Yes, I've had vegetable. The broccoli in my broccoli soup counted.
That does not count.
It was broccoli cheddar soup. It's half the soup. Broccoli cheddar. Those are the two things.
All right. So if you enjoyed listening to today's episode, I just joked on my own spit. All right. If you enjoyed listening to today's episode, you can find us on all the social media platforms. We are on Facebook.com/WhiteCollarsRedHands. We are on Twitter at WhiteCollarsPod. We are on Instagram at WhiteCollars_RedHands. We are on TikTok at WhiteCollarsRedHands. If you want to support us, continue to support us, you can tell a friend. That's probably the biggest way that podcasts spread. You can also leave us a review on either Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. If you have an idea for an episode, do not hesitate to email us at whitecollarsredhands@gmail.com. If you want an unfree way to support us, we have merch at TeePublic. You can just go ahead and go to our website, whitecollarsredhands.com, click on our merch tab, and it'll take you right there. And I think that's it.
Website? We said website? Yeah, we said website.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week on another episode of White Collars,
Red Hands.